I forgot to press the button. Hey up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek. I forgot to add myself to the stream. I'm an idiot. It's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek. Welcome to my Sunday news live stream. I've got some stories and articles and a couple of lists for us to have a look at today. Right, so let's just get on with it, shall we? By the way, before we start, don't forget, it'd be nice if you could, what did they say? Smash that like button. Why can't you just say, use the like button? Or, press the like button. Or give it a little stroke or whatever, like I'm having. Smash the like button, whatever. Subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. If you're on Rumble, follow me. Same with Twitch, whatever. But I'm also on those. We're live on those as well. I better check, can't I? Make sure we are. Make sure we're going on Rumble. Yes, we are. We're on Rumble. There we go. We're live. And we're live on Twitch as well. There we are. So there we go. I better make sure you can hear me as well. So just bear with me while I just pick up my phone. And we'll see if you can hear me. Because there's no bugger watching at the moment, so I've nobody to tell me. Come on, phone. Oh, see, I'm going to have to press the button, aren't I? Why isn't it coming on? Where's my phone gone off? Oh, right. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? It's going to be one of those days. Oh, that's why, because I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Genuinely. Right, let's get the volume up. Get the volume up. Oh, it just takes some faffing this, doesn't it? We're half an hour into the bleeding show. Yes, we're on. Right. That's all I wanted to do. Just to make sure you could hear me. Right. So these news stories, let's just get on with it, shall we? We've got a bit of Star Wars, a bit of Star Trek, a bit of Stephen King. But it's sort of like Star Wars adjacent. What else have we got? Well, that's about it, basically. It's mostly Star Wars and Star Trek and a bit of Stephen King that's Star Wars adjacent. And a couple of lists and a big cat update. I'm doing big cats, aren't I? Oh, why? Yes, because I forgot to continue me intro, didn't I? As I said, I'm on Rumble and I'm on Twitch live at the moment. Later on, I'll be on Spotify and Amazon Music Podcasts and Google Podcasts. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links are in the description, as are the links for my 2 books, Silent Predator, a short horror novella, which is why I'm, going on about big cats recently. And Mercury Rapids, a light-hearted sci-fi action adventure about UFOs and stuff. They're both on Amazon, Kindle and paperback. Just a bit of fun. Kindle's cheaper, obviously. Right, where were we? Well, there's something else I'm going to say. Oh, my links for all the stories as well are in the description, so you can read along with me. But I'll put them up on screen anyway. Right, so let's get on with this. Make myself titchy. Put that up. I forgot to full screen. Hang on. There we go. F11. Right. Star Wars producer calls out toxic fandom attacking Kathleen Kennedy. This has been in the news the last couple of days, or last day or whatever. It's about Tony Gilroy, and it's basically being misrepresented by his quotes, in my opinion. But we'll have a read, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. As Lucasfilm, this is from the Direct, which, is a crappy website at the best of times. As Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy works to juggle the upcoming Star Wars slate, along with toxic comments from fans, well, maybe she should run a company properly, shouldn't she? One franchise creative called out fans coming for Kennedy's head. Star Wars has been no stranger to toxic comments from fans, as many saw most recently with Rose Tico actress Kelly Marie Tran, who left social media altogether after remarks made about her following Episode 8, The Last Jedi, which apparently is not true. She didn't leave because of the fans, she left for other reasons. But there we go. Meanwhile, there have also been rumours circulating regarding Kennedy potentially being let go from her Lucasfilm job. It's not going to happen. All while the franchise looks to get back on its feet in terms of its big screen movies, which it's not happening, is it? I mean, Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones with Dial of Destiny is going to be a disaster, isn't it, by the looks of it? You never know. Right, here we go. Speaking with Deadline, Andor head writer slash producer Tony Gilroy addressed the toxicity he sees from fans towards Star Wars president Kathleen Kennedy. By the way, it doesn't say about it at all. Looking at the comments that Kennedy sees every day, Gilroy was shocked by what he saw happen during his work on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It was shocking on Rogue One because I didn't really have any exposure when Rogue happened and everything that happened. I was really blown back by what was going on and that I hadn't paid attention to. So I knew about it when I came back. I knew what to expect. That's just like a couple of sentences that mean nothing. By the way, is the video available? I will we'll have a look. I'll just pop that up there. Just bear with me. We'll watch the video as well. So just let me just remove that a moment. Just while I find the video. See, we're live. F11. Oh, where are we? There we go. Is this it? Is this it? How are you playing? What's happened? Where's it gone? That's weird. Where's it disappeared to? Well, let's refresh that and see if it comes back on again. And then it disappears. How bizarre. Is it because I'm not in America? That's weird. I click on it to play the video and the video just vanishes into thin air. There's always something in there. Right, I'll see if it's on YouTube. Just bear with me. Bear with me. I'll type in Tony Gilroy. Headline. See if that comes on. See if that comes on. And I'm going to have to go a filter. I'll do today. No, it's not there, is it? Does Deadline have a YouTube channel? See if it's on there. Deadline Hollywood. Yes, they do. Right. So let's see if that interview's on here. No, because the latest one's from 9 days ago. Unbelievable. Right. I wonder why it disappears. Right, I'll show you. Right. Bloody hell. What the heck? Right. Add that to stream. There, this is the Deadline channel. There's the video, Deadline Behind the Lens with Pete Hammond, Tony Gilroy, and there's the thing to play it. Watch it start playing now. I've done this. But I play it and it vanishes. There, you can like that. It vanishes, look. It just disappears into thin air. Or fat air in my case. Is it because I'm in the UK? I don't know. Anyway, so we're not going to watch that then, are we? Because it won't let me. Stupid bloody thing. But anyway, I've seen it. And the context is it's a classic case of it being taken out of context. It wasn't talking about toxicity of fans, and he actually defends the fans about their passion not being toxic. So we'll carry on. He understands the passion that the fandom community shows. There's a link there for Star Wars, noting that this love is something that you really have to pay attention to. You have, quote, you have to realize about that community that their passion, they love this thing so much, which is what Henry Cavill said, didn't he, about the Witcher fans? The hardcore, deepest you have within that community of, and this is an unfortunate comparison. I don't know why he picked these Shiites and Sunnis and Kurds, because it's this that has triggered everybody. Shiites and Sunnis and Kurds, and you have all kinds of people who have different, but their love of the show and the love of what it means to them is something that you really have to pay attention to. And people have been going on about this, saying is comparing Star Wars fans with, basically fundamentalist Muslims, what Americans had called terrorists, because not wanting to cast aspersions, but basically, I think a lot of Americans think that all Muslims are terrorists, and and obviously they're not. That's a tiny fraction. It's like saying all Catholics are IRA, terrorists. I'm sorry for saying that word. It's probably going to get me into trouble, but it's nonsense. It's nonsense. But what he's doing there is talking about a community. The Star Wars fan community is split into different what you could call factions, I suppose, or different denominations. You have ones that love the original trilogy, ones that love the prequel trilogy, ones that love the sequel trilogy, ones that love it all, and ones that love certain parts. It could have just easily have said the Protestants and Catholics, and other stuff to do with Christians, what else, Baptists, whatever. I don't know. It could have said something like that, couldn't it? But it's a shame he picked that in particular. But anyway, Gilroy's main focus when developing his material is to never ever be cynical about it, making sure to treat the material with respect and seriousness that it deserves. So my attitude has been that the attitude of the show is, as much as far out there as we get, and as much as we bend the tone of the idea, we can never ever be cynical about it. We have to take it more seriously than anybody's ever taken it. We're never winking, we're never kidding it. And that's fair enough, because Andor was a serious show. Mandalorian and all, the Dave Filoni, John Favreau shows are more light-hearted Star Wars, family fare, aren't they? Whereas Andor is, it's Star Wars for grown-ups, basically. So that's what I think he's saying there. The shows feature a mix of people who aren't as familiar with Star Wars, along with die-hard fans, explaining that the marriage of knowledge and history combines with a desire to take the story somewhere good. Quote, so we have this mix of people who know nothing about Star Wars on our show, and then we have a bunch of people on the show that are huge nerds. And it's the marriage of knowledge and history mixed with a real ambition to take it someplace else with a hopefully respect. I want to respect that audience, which I think Andor did. It did respect the audience. But this about, you can have this with any show, can't you? There'll be, in any franchise, there'll be people working on it that weren't fans when they came on board, and there'll be some that were fans. It happens with every show. It's like Star Trek and stuff, isn't it? Taking things back to Kennedy, he made it clear that he doesn't envy the job she has to do, considering all the comments she sees all over the internet. I don't think she does, to be honest. I think she's probably kept well away from those sort of things. Echo chamber. The phrase echo chamber and the bubble comes to mind. Same with politicians. They have no idea really what the public are saying, just what they're told the public are saying. Anyway, now I do read what and there's no way doing it and not being controversial. There's no way. It's impossible. And like Kathleen Kennedy's, I think it's ever up on the internet. It's just, I hope I didn't go off just then, because my feed sort of like went to the spinning things. So, but basically, I don't think she pays doing that again. Make sure we're still streaming. Says excellent connection there. We're still on. I think, are we? We're still on Rumble. Why has it stopped? No, we're still going there. And we're on Twitch still. So I think we're fine. It probably, I don't know what happened then. Hopefully you never noticed. And it's just my computer being stupid. I forgot where I was now. Yeah, so I don't think she sees this stuff on the internet. I think she's kept well clear of it. Her lackeys probably see all this stuff, but they won't show her. So I bet she don't. She won't surf. She won't go on YouTube and stuff like that. She's got no idea what all that's going on. Anyway, and while he commends Kennedy for having pretty thick skin in that endeavour, I mean, she's been at it long enough, hasn't she? She's in Hollywood. You've got to have thick skin, which is why it's weird when you get these actors and actresses running away from social media because of things that fans say to them, allegedly. You've got to have thick skin to be in Hollywood. To be in the public eye, you've got to have thick skin, and you've got to let criticism just wash off your back. I mean, fair enough, you might take it to heart or whatever, or you might notice it and it might hurt your feelings, but you don't let it show. Anyway, while he commends Kennedy for having pretty thick skin in that endeavour, he also noted that those comments don't force many changes to the material he and the team develop behind the scenes. Yeah, because she doesn't see it anyway. Yeah, you've got to have pretty thick skin to do that, but I pay attention. I don't think we made any real adjustments because of it. It's been interesting to watch, which I think is fair. I think producers and of film and TV, as a rule, not always. It depends. Nothing's 100%, is it? But I think as a rule, they shouldn't pay any attention to social media, especially. They should do their film or TV series the way they want to do it. If a trailer is released, for instance, the Sonic trailer for the first film, and there's a huge outcry about it, then fair enough, the producers took notice of that because Sonic in that did look bloody awful. They took notice of it, changed it, made Sonic look more like in the games, and it was a huge success. So sometimes it does pay to listen to fans, but you don't. But that was like constructive criticism, wasn't it? That was saying, that character model looks awful, change it, and you'll do better. And they probably thought, yeah, we probably will actually. But you don't pay any attention to people saying, oh, you're stupid, you're an idiot, blah blah blah, racism, etc. You don't pay any attention to that. You just brush that off, as best you can. Because there's always idiots. There's always idiots on the internet, and there's always idiots in all walks of life. You just try and not give them not pour petrol on the fire and stuff like that. Anyway, although there is always room for constructive criticism, I've just said that, haven't I? In the Star Wars universe, as there is with any franchise, Tony Gilroy empathises with the commentary that Kathleen Kennedy has to see on such a regular basis. She doesn't see it. And while it's still unclear whether Kennedy will actually remain with Lucasfilm, she'll stay as long as she wants to stay. I don't think they'll fire her. If they might suggest that when her contract is up, she could retire, or she could stay on as an executive chairman or something like that. As like a figurehead sort of thing, but with no actual power. That could happen. But she'll not go. She's like Vince McMahon, he's clinging on, isn't he, at the WWE. But anyway. Gilroy noted that she has all the support that she could ask for from inside as fellow writers and directors stand by her side. Currently, the Lucasfilm president is in the middle of rearranging the entire theatrical side of Star Wars, which reportedly is at the start of a 5-year plan to get back to the same glory it saw years ago. Too late now. And as this new slate develops, Kennedy continues to stand at the forefront, hyping up everything on the way over the next few months and years, which will hopefully put the galaxy far, far away. Drinking game. Cold coffee. Back on top of the game. Star Wars will return with Ahsoka, which is set to premiere on Disney Plus in August. But yeah, she's not paying any attention to what's on the internet. She doesn't. You can tell she's no idea what's going on. She just says her spiel, so to speak, pun intended. She started with Spielberg, didn't she? And leaves it at that. But she's not going anywhere. And he wasn't attacking the fans. He didn't call them toxic. He called them passionate. And the fans are passionate. Yes, there's always idiots that spoil it. But 99% of people on the internet are good, honest people. But like I said, you always get people, a small minority that spoil it, don't they, for everybody. But anyway, so that's that one. I just thought I'd have my 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, I don't know, inflation. And we'll move on. My fat belly's getting in the way of the keyboard. Jack O'Neill, lovely brunch, Sunday brunch. Right, next up. I'm sorry, this is a Screen Rant one, so, they've got to appear because they're everywhere. They're omnipresent out the Screen Rant. But anyway, new Stephen King movie. Why? He's American. Why does he spell his name with a PH? No idea. Anyway, I'm British and mine's spelled with a V. Never mind. New Stephen King movie had to remove iconic Star Wars item for a wild reason. I bet it's not. The Boogeyman director Rob Savage reveals he had to remove an iconic Star Wars item from his Stephen King horror movie under orders from Disney. And there's a still. I've not heard of this. I think first heard of this. I think yesterday. I just saw it on a list of upcoming films, and I thought, oh, wonder what that's about. I didn't know it was a Stephen King one. Right, new horror movie, The Boogeyman, was forced to replace an iconic Star Wars item that appeared in the original script with something different. By the way, you may recognise this young actress. It's Vivian Lyra Blair, who played young Princess Leia in that terrible Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Although we're looking back on some, like Facebook does your memories, and I was looking back One popped up, and it's the one from me, a post from me saying, I quite enjoyed that Obi-Wan episode. So maybe I didn't think it was all terrible. Anyway, at least I'm honest. And I tell you that. Right, where were we? Adapted from the classic Stephen King short story, first published in 1973. I've never heard of it, don't know. Was it a Stephen King or was it a Richard Bachman or whatever? I don't know. The movie follows a young girl who becomes the target of a shadow monster following the death of her mother, starring Sophie Thatcher. That name rings a bell. She were in, she were in Boba Fett, wasn't she, Sophie Thatcher? She played her with the robot arm. Yeah, another Star Wars reference. Chris Messina and Vivian Lyra Blair. The $35 million movie, so it's got a decent budget for a horror film. Remember Megan, which was an amazing film, only had a $12 million budget, was released on June 2nd to mixed reviews from critics and audiences alike. While speaking with Collider in honour of the movie's release, director Rob Savage reveals the original plan for the Boogeyman, was to have Blair's character Sawyer, should be commas there, with a toy lightsaber that she would clutch to protect her from the creature. That won't have been in the original book, will it? Because 1973, well, original short story, because 1973 Star Wars wasn't a thing, was it? Anyway, only for it to malfunction and flicker any time the monster came near. Understandably, it seems that Disney were not enamoured with the idea, leading to the director to have to swap the iconic Star Wars weapon with a moon lamp instead, which I've got one of those. You can't see it, but it's over there in a box, a moon lamp. Actually, no, it's not a moon lamp. I'm lying. It's a Death Star lamp. Sorry. But it's the same sort of thing. You can see it there. Look. Where were we? The moon lamp. All right. Check out his comments in the quotes and full interview in the video below. No, I'm not watching the video. Not after what happened with Tony Gilroy. Anyway, quote, originally the script was written with Sawyer's character having a knockoff lightsaber that she would hug in bed that would then fritz out during the scene that then became the moon ball scene. Our office was filled with different lightsaber toys because we had to find the perfect lightsaber, so we were constantly having frustrated lightsaber battles during prep. I'd completely forgotten that we cast young Princess Leia, and Disney didn't really like the idea of young Princess Leia having a broken lightsaber that was fritz out. Do you mean that would fritz out? It looked like a piece of shit. So they said, no, we can't do that. And we had to come up with something else very quickly. And then she's again with the moon ball. I've not seen any. I've not even seen a trailer for this, but the stills actually, I think it looks quite spooky, doesn't it? Anyway, the decision by Disney to reject the use of a lightsaber in the movie does make a degree of sense when considering that Star Wars is a very protected brand. Didn't used to be, did it, under George Lucas? He let anybody do anything, didn't he? Pretty much. And arguably Disney's flagship brand, in addition to not keeping with the family appeal of its franchise, putting it in a horror movie, undermining its strength for a scare, makes it understandable they'd want it removed. You've seen loads of Star Wars stuff in horror movies over the years, but probably not since Disney took over. The evil Disney Corporation, the money grubbing. Anyway, furthermore, with the Boogeyman cast, including Blair, who played the young Princess Leia in Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi, which apparently I liked an episode of. Don't ask me which one. Anyway, this clearly made Disney more nervous about having her character wield a lightsaber in a horror movie. Despite this, it's not necessarily a bad turn of events for the success of the Boogeyman, and it will certainly allow the movie to breathe on its own. Free from the shackles of being linked with the other franchises. It's a chance for the cast to show their acting chops and for the creative team to tackle one of King's most beloved tales. I've never heard of it. Furthermore, replacing the lightsaber with Sawyer's now iconic moon lamp allowed for another prop to take centre stage, and this is the item that has been seen all over posters and trailers alike, which bodes well for the movie. Heading into its opening weekend, the Boogeyman has scored mixed to positive reviews, which has turned into a modest start at the box office, best for being the best for a King adaptation since 2019's Doctor Sleep, which were okay. With King himself responding to the movie very positively, it will be interesting to see if a successful box office run could lead to the development of the sequel director Rob Savage had previously teased, and if he will get another chance to utilize a Star Wars lightsaber Source Collider. There we go. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look up the trailer for that. There's been a few horror films called The Boogeyman, haven't there? I think. But as I say, I don't know this one. But obviously, if it was first published in 1973, it originally had no reference to Star Wars in it because Star Wars wasn't a thing, unless Stephen King's a time traveler, which I don't think he is. So we'll move on. So there we go. I just thought that was interesting. Next, this is from the BBC. The BBC. Right. Can sci-fi films teach us anything about an AI threat? Don't know. That's from Minority Report, isn't it? Yes, it is. Just see if we have any messages anywhere. No messages. Nobody wants to talk to me. Hey. No, right, off we go. Right, in an apocalyptic warning this week, big-name researchers cited the plot of a major movie among a series of AI disaster scenarios they said could threaten humanity's existence. Two of the three so-called godfathers of AI are worried, though the third could not disagree more, saying such prophecies of doom are nonsense. When trying to make sense of it in an interview on British television with one of the researchers who warned of an existential threat, the presenter said, as somebody who has no experience of this, I think of the Terminator, I think of Skynet, I think of films that I've seen. He's not alone. The organisers of the warning statement, the Centre for AI Safety, CASE, I don't know, used Pixar's Wall-E as an example of the threats of AI. Science fiction has always been a vehicle to guess at what the future holds. Very rarely it gets some things right. Using the case's list of potential threats as examples, do Hollywood blockbusters have anything to tell us about AI doom? Here we go. Enfeeblement, Wall-E, and Minority Report. Case says, this isn't a super long article. Case says enfeeblement is when humanity becomes completely dependent on machines, similar to the scenario portrayed in the film Wall-E. If you need a reminder, humans in that movie were happy animals who did no work and could barely stand on their own, a bit like me, really. Robots tended to everything for them. Guessing whether this is possible for our entire species is crystal ball gazing, but there is another, more insidious form of dependency that is not so far away. That is the handing over of power to a technology we may not fully understand, says Stephanie Hare, an AI ethics researcher and author of Technology is Not Neutral. Think Minority Report, pictured at the top of this article. Well-respected police officer John Anderton, played by Tom Cruise, is accused of a crime he hasn't committed because the systems built to predict crime are certain he will. Predictive policing is here. The London Met uses it, Dr. Hare says. Pardon me. In the film, Tom Cruise's life is ruined by an unquestionable system which he doesn't fully understand. So what happens when someone has a life-altering decision, such as a mortgage application or prison parole, refused by AI? Or when you get a speeding ticket from a bloody machine and it's all automated. Speaking from experience here. Anyway. Today, a human could explain why you didn't meet the criteria, but many AI systems are opaque, and even the researchers who built them often don't fully understand the decision making. We just feed the data in, the computer does something, magic happens, and then an outcome appears. An outcome happens, Dr. Hare says. I don't think Dr. Hare really understands how computer software works. To be honest, the programmers know exactly what's going to happen. Anyway. I used to work for a computer company that had, programmer. I wasn't a programmer. I'm thick, but the one's got a job to do for a big national newspaper. The one's got a job to do a thing for them, and they were told what to do. They told the programmer what to do and what they wanted, and so the programmer did and the program actually said, if you do it this way, it'll not work how you want it to work. And he said, no, you've got to do it that way. So he said, fair enough. So he wrote the program, and what happened. It said what happened, and they tried suing the company. But I don't think it worked, because he'd said it. If you do it the way you want it, such and such a thing will happen. And it did. So that's it. The programmers know what they're doing. Anyway, the technology might be efficient, but that's it. We're talking about AI, though. We're talking about computers making their own decisions, I suppose. So I suppose it goes beyond the initial programming, doesn't it? The technology might be efficient, but it's arguable it should never be used in critical scenarios like policing, healthcare, or even war, she says. If they can't explain it, it's not okay. And then we move on to weaponization. The Terminator, Sarah Connor. The true villain in the Terminator franchise isn't the killer robot played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's Skynet, an AI designed to defend and protect humanity. One day, not one day, on day one, it outgrew its programming and decided that mankind was the greatest threat of all, a common film trope. We are, of course, a very long way from Skynet, but some think that we will eventually build an artificial generalized intelligence, AGI, which could do anything humans can, but better, and perhaps even be self-aware. For Nathan Benesh, apologies, founder of AI investment firm Air Street Capital in London, it's a little far-fetched. Sci-fi often tells us much more about its creators and our culture than it does about technology, which is kind of what I've just said, isn't it? He says, adding that our predictions about the future rarely come to pass. Early in the 20th century, people imagined a world of flying cars where people stayed in touch by ordinary telephones, whereas we now travel in much the same way but communicate completely differently. What we have today is on the road to becoming something more like Star Trek's shipboard computer than Skynet. Computer, show me a list of all crew members, you might say. Or, Alexa, go to Red Alert.
Aye, Captain.
I hope you could hear that. All right, shut up. Where were we? You might say, and our AI of today could give it to you and answer questions about the list in normal language. It could not, however, replace the crew or fire the torpedoes. Worries about weaponization are around integrating AI into military hardware, something which is already on the cards, whether we can trust the technology with life and death scenarios. For instance, automated drones, what is it, UCAVs, unmanned combat aerial vehicles, which, sometimes make all the decisions themselves about whether to fire and stuff, and what targets to take out. Anyway, naysayers are also worried about the potential for an AI designed to make medicine being turned into new chemical weapons or other similar threats. Has it already happened? Right, what's this one? Emergent Girls Deception, 2001. Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Another popular trope in film is not that the AI is evil, but rather it's misguided. In Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, we meet HAL 9000. Was it heuristic algorithmic logic circuit, something like that? I can't remember. A supercomputer which controls most of the functions of the ship Discovery, making the astronauts' lives easier until it malfunctions. But it doesn't malfunction. We find out in 2010. It was told to lie, and it created like a feedback loop, Morbius thing. I don't know what they've called it. So it wasn't really a malfunction. It was a fault of the instructions it was given. As I've said before about the programming, the programmers probably knew exactly what was going to happen. Anyway, the astronauts decide to disconnect HAL and take things over themselves, but HAL, who knows things the astronauts don't, decides this jeopardizes the mission. The astronauts are in the way. HAL tricks the astronauts and kills most of them. Well, there were only two astronauts and the scientists that were in stasis, weren't they? Apart from David Bowman. But anyway, unlike a self-aware Skynet, you could argue that HAL is doing what he was told, preserving the mission, just not the way he was expected to. In modern AI language, misbehaving AI systems are misaligned. Their goals do not seem to match up with the human goals. Sometimes that's because the instructions were not clear enough, and sometimes it's because the AI is smart enough to find a shortcut. For example, if the task for an AI is make sure your answer and this text document match, it might decide the best path is to change the text document to an easier answer. That is not what the human intended, but it would technically be correct. So while 2001: A Space Odyssey is far from reality, it does reflect a very real problem with current AI systems. Yes, misinformation, the Matrix. I'm sorry, I was thinking that because there's a thing. I won't say because I don't know if they want us to say it, but there's a website I visit, a Discord, that's got an AI bot, sort of like as not in control, but present on it, and you can ask it questions, and it's kind of to be honest, I'm sorry, lads, but it's kind of put me off it a bit. It's a bit too much of it, to be honest. But so I don't really go there very much. But it seems that seems to have taken over that particular Discord. So with people asking it questions, and it's actually getting on my nerves a little bit. So there we go. So I would be the John Connor, and I would go in and smash that machine. Anyway, how would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world? Morpheus asks a young Keanu Reeves in 1999's The Matrix, the story about how most people live their lives, not realizing their world is a digital fake, is a good metaphor for the current explosion of AI-generated misinformation. Dr. Hare says that with her clients, the Matrix is a useful starting point. Don't have bloody proofreaders, do they? The Matrix is a useful starting point for conversations about misinformation, disinformation, and deep fakes. I can talk them through that with the Matrix. And by the end, what would this mean for elections? What would this mean for stock market manipulation? Oh my God, what does it mean for civil rights and like human literature or civil liberties and human rights? Anyway, ChatGPT and image generators are already manufacturing vast reams of culture that looks real but might be entirely wrong or made up. It's all over the place, isn't it? There's also a far darker side, such as the creation of damaging deepfake pornography that is extremely difficult for victims to fight against. If this happens to me or someone I love, there's nothing we can do to protect them right now, Dr. Hare says. Do your worst with me. Oh dear. What might actually happen? As long as you make me look good, fine. Anyway, and it's but no, I've changed my mind. No, don't do it. What might actually happen? So, what about this warning from top AI experts? If you do see me in the compromising position on the internet, it's fake. I'm telling you. So, what about this warning from top AI experts that it's just as dangerous as nuclear war? I thought it was really irresponsible, Dr. Hare says. If you guys truly think that, if you really think that, stop building it. It's probably not killer robots we need to worry about, she says, rather than an unintended accident. It's a bit like, is it with the hydrogen bomb? When they first developed the hydrogen bomb, it might not be that, it might be another one. A nuclear weapon of some sort. They said at the time that there were a chance that it could ignite the entire atmosphere and burn the earth to a crisp. And all the scientists were saying, but it's a tiny little chance, like 0.0001%. And people say, well, even if there's a tiny chance, don't blow it up. They still did, still tested it, and obviously it didn't. There's a famous speech, and is it by is it LBJ or is it somebody else? I can't remember. Might not be LBJ. One of the presidents, anyway. Saying he wasn't an atomic playboy. I can't remember who it was. Who succeeded Eisenhower? I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. And Steve Stevens did a song about it called Atomic Playboys, and it's in that, but never mind. Right. So, yeah, it reminds me of that. And also, what was it? The CERN scientists were saying, we could create a mini black hole, and there's a tiny chance we could create a mini black hole when we collide in these exotic particles at the CERN Hadron Collider. And people were saying, well, if there's even a tiny chance they're going to create a black hole, don't do it. But they still did. And it didn't happen yet. Right, where were we? I'll say this. It's probably not killer robots we need to worry about, she says, rather an unintended accident. There's going to be high security in banking. There'll be high security around weapons. So what attackers would do is release an AI, maybe hoping that they could just make a little bit of cash or do a power flex. And then maybe they can't control it, she says. Just imagine all of the cybersecurity issues that we've had, but a billion times. But times a billion, because it's going to be faster. Nathan Benesh from Air Street Capital is reluctant to make any guesses about potential problems. I think AI will transform a lot of sectors from the ground up, but we need to be super careful about rushing to make decisions based on feverish and outlandish stories where large leaps are assumed without a sense of what the bridge will look like, he warns. And there we go. So, yes, I think it is a threat myself, though. Obviously, you get people, like Nathan, who is... a bit more cautious, but then you've got Dr. Hare, who seems, hell bent against it, doesn't she? Against AI. But I'm kind of wary of it. I think it's getting a bit too all encompassing. At the moment, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? It seems to be, particularly on the internet and social media and stuff with this Chat GPT. But it seems to be getting everywhere, and we're learning that a lot of films are being written with AI, not the finished script, but a lot of writers apparently are using AI to basically create a story. They might have an idea for a story and go into an AI thing and say, give me a story about this, this, and this, and it'll come up with something, and then they can move on from that, can't they? So that's happening a lot. And you get a lot of AI art, which is, it looks good and amazing, but it's AI art, isn't it? It's not made by a person. But anyway. But yeah, it's scary stuff. It's scary stuff. Right, we'll move on because I'm scared. Hey, have we got anything a bit more jolly? I hope so. Not really, because we're moving on to Star Trek now. And Leonard Nimoy, who passed away several years ago, but saying Leonard Nimoy said this Star Trek movie derailed the franchise. It didn't. I don't know what he's talking about. Star Trek legend Leonard Nimoy, who starred in the sci-fi series and movies as the Vulcan Spock, revealed that one film in the franchise that almost ruined it. Leonard Nimoy, who played one of the best Star Trek characters ever with Spock, has some strong feelings about one of the movies in particular. Nimoy starred as Spock in Star Trek across the entirety of the first TV series, in addition to the TOS-era Star Trek movies, alongside the likes of William Shatner as Kirk and DeForest Kelley as Bones. And he also appeared in Next Generation, in the two-party unification. Within the J.J. Abrams one. Within the movies, the actor's influence would grow, and Nimoy would even sit in the director's chair for The Voyage Home and Star Trek 3, which is undoubtedly one of the very best movies of the franchise. I don't think it is. I don't know. I like it, but there's parts of it that do my head in. Anyway, but it wasn't all so smooth going, and there were plenty of ups and downs. Speaking back in 2009, following on from the release of the J.J. Abrams reboot movie, Nimoy reflected back on the cinematic legacy of the Star Trek franchise, saying that it was derailed right at the very start, before eventually finding its feet. The second Star Trek movie put the franchise back on track, but the first one derailed us. It didn't do us any good, said Nimoy, speaking with Trek Movie. I don't know what he's talking about. The first one, Star Trek the motion picture is amazing. But admittedly, when I first saw it as a 12-year-old kid, I wasn't over enamored with it. But I have grown to love it. Anyway, the first Star Trek movie is the infamous The Motion Picture, dubbed The Motionless Picture and The Motion Sickness by its detractors. The movie was a far cry from the fun adventure movies which later installments would become. Because they tried to make it like 2001, basically, wasn't it? It was serious sci-fi. Thankfully, it was followed up by The Wrath of Khan, which is regarded as one of the best movies of all time, period. The second one put us back on track, continued Nimoy. You still wanted killing at the end, though, didn't you? And what happened unintentionally, we didn't realise that we were at the beginning of a trilogy. The three films, 2, 3, and 4, told a story that had an arc. Kind of 5 as well, sort of. 3 was obligatory. We had to get Spock back, after you wanted killing. But admittedly, they did put in that little remember thing to, in case they could get him back. We had to get Spock back, and 4 was the completion of that cycle. After that, the films became somewhat of toss something in the air and see what happens, and were not so grounded in continuity. Nimoy's reflection. What is he talking about? Nimoy's reflection that the Wrath of Khan, the search for Spock, and the voyage home constitute a trilogy is very keen-eyed. Well, it's not because they were. And viewed that way, the 3 films surely make for one of the best science fiction movie trilogies of all time. It just took one less successful movie to get there in the first place. I don't know. First one made a ton of brass. That's it. That's for more on it. Good elsewhere. But yeah, I think it's been a bit harsh on the motion picture. I know they didn't have a very good time making it. They were going with an unfinished script, and I don't think they had a great time making it. So that's probably coloured his opinion on the film. But in a lot of ways, the motion picture is probably the purest Star Trek film, and the one that's most like what Gene Roddenberry, would have wanted. But anyway, hello, Taika. Would Star Trek have been so popular without Spock, or as lasting? He was an integral part of the trio. Yes, he was. Yes, it was a triumvirate of Spock, Kirk, and McCoy. And one of my favourite scenes in all of Star Trek is in Star Trek V, the campfire scene with the 3 of them singing "Row, row your boat." But yeah, I think it's been a bit harsh. That's actually a scene from motion picture. It's been a bit harsh on the motion picture, I think. But he did want killing off at the end of 2. That was his choice. He said, "I'll be in it if you kill me off." But thankfully, he came back. He came back. Right, let's move on. Hang on, let me get rid of that. There we go. F11. What's next? I think we're sticking with Star Trek. Hang on. Here we go. We're sticking with Star Trek. It's past time to bring Harry Kim as a promoted officer. Bring back Harry Kim as a promoted officer. This is one of my bugbears about Voyager. I love Star Trek Voyager, but why did Harry Kim never get a promotion? I've never understood it. Never, ever. And why is an ensign the head of operations on a starship? I've never understood that either. But anyway, when Star Trek Voyager wrapped its journey in 2001, Harry Kim was still an ensign. After 7 years aboard Voyager, Harry Kim, played by Garrett Wang, remained an ensign. I think once, though, I think it was in Next Generation, I think Data once went through what it took to become, like I think you were a lieutenant commander, wasn't it? And I think he did say, the standard thing to do is like spend like 12 years as an ensign, and then so and so long as a lieutenant junior grade, and then a lieutenant, and then all that. But I'm sure he once did say 12 years as an ensign, unless he did serve 12 years as an ensign. Did Data? I can't actually remember the specifics. Anyway, where were we? After 7 years aboard Voyager, Harry Kim, played by Garrett Wang. I say Wang, but people have said it's pronounced Wong. But remained an ensign, never receiving a promotion, even though Tom Paris was both demoted and re-promoted after a lapse in judgment. Yeah, that's Tom Paris, was like jailbird Tom Paris. It was essentially a slap in the face to Wang's character. Star Trek Picard showrunner Terry Matalas wanted to right this wrong in season 3 of Star Trek Picard, but the budget wouldn't allow it. Fortunately, there are other Star Trek properties that could make this happen without as high of a cost, and it's time that Voyager fans learn what happened to Kim and whether he has finally achieved the rank of captain or higher. Oh, pardon me, after 22 years. Should bloody hope so. We've been able to see the futures of Admiral Janeway, Tom Paris, Tuvok, and 7 of 9, thanks to Star Trek Lower Decks. Oh, God. Prodigy and Picard. The Doctor was a hologram, so it's understandable why we haven't seen an update on him while Neelix left the ship before it reached home. He has to a conveniently placed Talaxian colony. But anyway. So we can assume he's having a good life with the fellow Talaxians he found, so that just leaves Kim out. So far, we've seen nothing of Kim's future save for the final episode in Voyager's Endgame, which isn't canon. Well, no, because they changed the future, changed the timeline, didn't they? But we did see him in the future in another timeline in that episode. I forgot to call it now. That where the Voyager crashed on that planet and were frozen under that lake of ice, but Kim and Chakotay got back home, didn't they? They were using like a slipstream drive or whatever, weren't they? But they got back home and it showed them like 15 years or whatever in the future, didn't it? They wanted to prevent the Voyager getting destroyed, basically. Anyway. Leaving his character out of the reunions is essentially saying he didn't matter or that no one wants to know if he was finally promoted. And that's not the case. Metalis tried to give justice to Harry, and it's about time some other Star Trek show gave him the opportunity Star Trek Picard couldn't. Harry Kim deserves to be given a chance to shine aboard a ship of his own or in another type of command position, one that we can see, even if it's in animation. No, don't have him on lower decks. At this point, even though we prefer to see the promoted character, we'd settle for a phone call from Captain Kim. This was that bloody Admiral Kim, like kicking up a stink and throwing his weight around. That's what they should do. But yeah, I've never understood why he never got a promotion. And they always say, "Oh well, there's limited opportunities for promotion." But as I said, Tom Paris got demoted to an ensign and then promoted back to a lieutenant again. I mean, he was promoted to lieutenant straight from prison. Well, poor Harry Kim there, chief of operations, the largest department on a starship, is stays an ensign. Thingamajig. Tuvok, he got promoted. He started out as a lieutenant. Lieutenant Tuvok ended up being Lieutenant Commander Tuvok after about a couple of seasons. But no, poor old Harry. Poor old Harry couldn't get a break, even though he was one of the most important characters, important officers on the ship. Poor Harry. So yes, justice, #justice for Harry Kim. So there we go. Next up, back to Star Wars again. Right, let's see what happens with this one. Oh dear. Right, Star Wars Theory, not the YouTube channel, reveals a major rebel leader in The Mandalorian Season 4. As Star Wars grows, one key cameo could bring a classic storyline to life. Cassian Andor was built for our current Star Wars era where less important characters step up to fill in the blanks of the mainline movies. Rogue One, my favourite Star Wars film, was created to show what happens before the original trilogy, and Andor depicts what happens before that. With Diego Luna's spy, the kind of character who might get one line in a movie starring someone with the last name Skywalker, which is what I actually like about Rogue One. It shows that it's not all about the Skywalkers, even though we did have one in it at the end. But anyway, taking centre stage. But he's not the only one. Andor also gave new dimension to one of the Rebel Alliance's most enigmatic figures, Mon Mothma, with Genevieve O'Reilly breathing new life into the role originally portrayed by Carolyn Blakiston in Return of the Jedi. We're bound to see Mothma again in a future Star Wars show or movie, but where? As is often the case, the answer may lie in a piece of forgotten Lucasfilm lore. The original follow-up to Return of the Jedi was the Thrawn trilogy, written by Timothy Zahn, who later got a chance to rewrite the story for the current Disney-era canon. Amidst the plot involving Grand Admiral Thrawn, Mara Jade, and cloned Force wizards in the second novel, Dark Force Rising, I've actually got the Thrawn trilogy, and I've never got round to reading them. I'm always doing that with books, loads of books, and I never get around to reading them. Trouble is brewing much closer to home. In the non-canon Legends timeline, Mon Mothma becomes Chief of State after the Battle of Endor, but despite her famously saying many Bothans died to bring us this information, she soon finds herself at ends with those very same Bothans. I mean, at odds. Odds and ends. Their leader is Borsk Faelia. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Who previously served as Mothma's second in command, though in tight competition with Admiral Akbar. It's a trap! Fairleah was also already massively suspicious of the New Republic because of his own racist prejudices against humans. It's understandable. The Empire were essentially a human empire, wasn't it? Essentially. But his feud with Akbar runs deep, and he takes every opportunity to undermine the Mon Calamari's position. Fairleah's goals are twofold: gain more power for himself, but also for the Bothan people. Apologies if you can hear an engine. Somebody outside revving a car really loud. Unbelievable. The window's shut. Who sees as the maligned martyrs of the rebellion? Fairleah scores a major political win when Akbar is accused of treason after some New Republic funds are found in his personal bank account. Akbar is placed under house arrest, allowing Fairleah to take over his duties, and then be saying, "It's a plant. It's a." Anyway. However, it turns out the money was placed there by Grand Admiral Thrawn in order to sow disorder within the Republic. So is that a Bothan then? Is that what a Bothan looks like? Is that Fairleah? Yes, it is. Oh, right. So that's what a Bothan looks like. A little bit like dogs, I suppose. Cat dogs, whatever. When Han Solo approaches Fairleah and explains that Thrawn is to blame, Fairleah refuses to believe him. Worse, Fairleah denies the existence of Thrawn's growing fleet, forcing the Rogue Squadron to defy his orders to defend the Republic. This drives the wedge between Fairleah and the New Republic even further. The entire story comes to a head when Fairleah goes so far as to hold a pregnant Leia Organa Solo at gunpoint. Leia, being whip smart and crucially force sensitive, turned on the communications of the ship they're both on. When Fairleah admitted his true intentions, the entire New Republic leadership hears it. I've played this Republic like a harp from hell. Probably what he said. His political aspirations are ruined. Like other aspects of the Thrawn trilogy that are ripe for adaptation, there will have to be some substitutions made. Instead of Leia, Fairleah could hold another powerful Republic leader hostage instead, Mon Mothma, the leader who he sees as the root of all his problems. She may not be force sensitive, how do we know? But Mothma could still find her own way to expose his ill will. However, with Andor guaranteed to end long before any of this ever transpired, and no suggestion that Lucasfilm is even considering a Mon Mothma spin-off, the question remains, where could we see this play out? The answer may surprise you. In Season 3, pretty poor Season 3 to be honest, The Mandalorian expanded its scope to include not just Mando and Baby Yoda, but the fate of all Mandalorians and their home planet Mandalore. Beyond that, we also got an entire episode devoted to life on Coruscant. A pointless episode, during the era of the New Republic, with a focus on two allegedly reformed ex-Imperials enrolled in an amnesty program. Assuming that where's that company come from? Temu. They're everywhere at the moment, aren't they? And all these adverts that pop up. Anyway, assuming that I presume it's a Chinese company. Assuming that The Mandalorian Season 4 continues this plot line, it's only a matter of time before the show introduces the current leader of the galaxy, Mon Mothma, and by adapting her political conflict with Boris Fela, I thought it was Borsk. The show can add a dose of political intrigue. This could also resolve a potential plot hole. The Mandalorians just re-established their home planet. Will the New Republic show up to acknowledge it and offer them a seat at the table? It's clear the original Thrawn trilogy has become an influence for the Mandoverse. Even the Ahsoka trailer refers to Thrawn as heir to the Empire. And allegedly, the rumor is that's what Dave Filoni's film's going to be called. Bet it in. That's the rumour going around, the title of the first book in the trilogy. But while most of that trilogy follows Thrawn, who seem to be isolated to Ahsoka for now, and the adventures of Han, Leia, and Luke, who can't appear without some expensive CGI, this storyline just requires new characters like Fairleah and Mon Mothma, who may be looking for work after Andor Season 2 wraps filming. The Mandalorian universe can't expand much further without finally giving us a glimpse of the actual power behind the New Republic. We've seen the low-level space cops, and we've seen bureaucrats who look like Tim Meadows. I've no idea who that is. In Season 4, fans deserve to see Mon Mothma defending the role we saw her earn in everything leading up to this. There we go. That were an article that could have been written by Screen Rant, couldn't it? They're just theorising. Say Star Wars theory reveals, but it's their own theory. So it's just what they want, isn't it? They want Mon Mothma maybe to appear in season 4 of Mandalorian, along with I forgot his name already, Borsk Felia. See, I've got the books. Just bear with me. You can find them. They're over there somewhere. Got dust on that, crikey. Hang on. Oh, hang on. I haven't got the first one. I thought I had the first one here somewhere. Unless I put it somewhere else. I've got 2 Dark Force Risings and 1 The Last Command. Where's my Heir to the Empire gone? Oh, never mind. I'm sure it's here somewhere. It'll turn up. It'll turn up. I'll have to look on eBay. Right, where were we? Yeah, but I don't know. They might do. They might have Mon Mothma because, like I say, she was in Andor, so it's reasonable for her to appear in the Mandalorian season 4 at some point. Why not? Why not? Right, let's move on. Right, Star Wars still. This is from Bounding into Comics, so it could get spicy. Taika Waititi claims he's stuck on the middle part of his Star Wars script, says John F. Trent. Director and actor, and pretty annoying person, but never mind, Taika Waititi recently provided an update on his Star Wars film, claiming he's stuck on the middle part. There he is. Waititi's Star Wars film was announced back on May the 4th, 2020. Be with you. Alongside Leslie Yee, Headland's The Acolyte series, which I'm still not convinced is going to get a full series. But we will see. The official Star Wars website noted Academy Award winner Taika Waititi, who recently won Best Adapted Screenplay for Jojo Rabbit, which is a pretty good film, to be honest, and directed the widely acclaimed first season finale episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, will direct and co-write a new Star Wars feature film for theatrical release. They added, joining Waititi on the screenplay will be Academy Award, got to put registered trademark after it. Nominee Christy Wilson Cairns, 1917 and Last Night in Soho, which I've seen both of those, and they're all right. Who received a BAFTA award. See, that doesn't get a registered trademark thing, does it? For Outstanding British Film of the Year on the 3-time Oscar-winning film 1917. It was all right with 1917. I quite enjoyed it. It was filmed in kind of as though it were like one shot, wasn't it? One fluid, continuous shot. Pretty cool. There hasn't been much involvement in the 3 years since. Back in June 2022, Waititi even indicated the film might not get made after he submits his script. He told the New York Times, "I'm trying to write the Star Wars idea at the moment. I've got to see how that goes, because once I submit it, that might determine when it gets made, or if it gets made even." Waititi added, "I'm cool as well to take 6 months off and just go hang out with my kids." Has he got kids? Oh, bless him. Just make sure we're still going. Make sure we're still going. Yeah. Yeah, we are. Let's see if there are any messages on the social medias. No, just thought I'd better check. Right. Oh, got an itchy nose. Gonna have an argument. Right. More recently, he indicated the whole film was a rumour despite it being officially announced. He was asked by Deadline, speaking of different environments, Taika, there's a lot of talk about what you are working on. Now it's writing and perhaps staring in a Star Wars movie. Waititi responded, "Yeah, that rumour's about 3 years old. All I'll say is, God forbid, I make a Star Wars film about people sitting on mountains playing flutes." Is that a little dig at The Last Jedi? because Luke was essentially sitting on a mountain playing a flute, wasn't he? Sort of. When Deadline's Dominic Patton informed him, well, they kind of went there with the last. Oh, there we go. With the last few Star Wars movies with Luke Skywalker, where Titi replied, "Okay, then I won't do that for sure." And there he is with the old glassy-eyed Kevin Feige. I still think looks like Mike Mercury from Supercar. Anyway. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy previously told Empire magazine that the film is still happening, but Kennedy indicated the issue was the third act. She said, Taika is working away. He's just, and he won't get mad at me for saying this, slow. I presume in work rate, not as in, mental acuity. We've got a couple of acts. We need a third. And there he is, handing the Thor's hammer to Natalie Portman. I've still not watched that. Thor, Love and Thunder. And I like Natalie Portman, but I couldn't get past the first bit. I watched the first part with Christian Bale as the, Thor, Gore the God Butcher, whatever they called him. That was fine. But then, I know I've said this before, but, got to the bit with Thor in it, getting back into shape and then doing the splits and all this stuff with the Guardians of the Galaxy there. And I just turned it off because it just got on my nerves. That's as far as I've got with it. Right, anyway, now speaking with the Hollywood Reporter, Waititi indicated he's struggling with the script, but told the outlet it was the middle and not the third act. I've got a really good idea for it. It's just, as with all films, it's this middle part. You're like, what's going to happen? And then you look at all of those films that are so great, you're like, well, I guess they can't meet some smuggler with an alien sidekick. Well, they can if they want. However, he also similarly noted it's not a top priority. For the most part, I would like to take a few holidays and go and follow Rita around. Is that his wife? I don't know. And just be her little tour toy boy and hang out with her and just watch her perform and get her a cup of tea backstage. Oh, is it Rita Ora? Is he hanging it? Is it? I don't know. I've no idea. I thought he was knocking off to the one off Thor, Love and Thunder, Valkyrie. I don't bloody know. What do you make of Taika Waititi's comments and contradiction of Kennedy? Do you think this film will ever get made? I don't think this film will ever get made. I don't think that all the 3 films that Kathleen Kennedy announced will ever get made. I think the Dave Filoni one will get made. I'm not sure the other 2. The James Mangold and the other one. What's the other one going to be? I've forgotten. Oh, the Ray one, yeah. The one about Ray, yeah. I don't think they'll get made, but I think the Dave Filoni one will, because it's connected to the Mandoverse, which is still quite popular. But I'm gonna have another look at Natalie Portman holding the hammer because she's very pretty. Maybe I'll get round to watching it one of these days. Maybe not. Don't know who that is, but he's happy, whoever he is. Right, so we'll leave it there. But so like I said, Kathleen Kennedy, she just says things. What did she say? She said, "Is where are we? We've got a couple of acts. We need a third." So maybe she meant they've got the first and the last act, and they just need the middle one because he said he's stuck on the middle part. But I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate there. So why am I defending Kathleen Kennedy? I've no idea. But anyway, we'll leave that there. Right, let's move on. We're nearly there. Right, we're on the lists now. Back to Screen Rant. Blooming Screen Rant. Right, here we go. This Strange New Worlds, which might bump up my viewing figures. My videos I've done for Strange New Worlds this last week or so got lots of views, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Anyway, 10 Spock things to remember before Strange New Worlds Season 2. So this part might be getting clipped out. Here are 10 things viewers should remember about Spock before diving into Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. And there's Spock, along with Christopher Pike and the lovely T'Pring. Don't ask me the name of the actress. From complicated relationships to emotional outbursts, Spock goes through a lot in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 that will undoubtedly continue to affect him in Season 2. As one of Star Trek's most famous and enduring characters, Spock, Leonard Nimoy, has already had a lot of his story told. Strange New Worlds and the young Lieutenant Spock, played by Ethan Peck, have managed to reinvent the character for the modern era and add to his already complex backstory. Set about 6 years before the events of the original series, Strange New Worlds features a slightly different version of Spock, who was a little bit younger when all said and done. Over the course of Strange New Worlds Season 1, Spock develops a lot as a character and has several experiences that will affect him will affect him moving forward. I'll learn to read. Can't multitask. I picked up my drink and I can't multitask. He still struggles with his emotions and how to reconcile his human side with his Vulcan side. I mean, essentially, it was a bit like that in the original series, wasn't it? His emotional side did. I mean, they tried to say, he was emotionless, but more often than not, the stories they did have Spock being emotional in one form or another, more often than you'd think, or that they'd like to admit. Anyway, as Spock interacts with Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, and the rest of his friends and crewmates aboard the USS Enterprise, he will likely continue to learn more about himself and what it means to be half human. Before the premiere of Strange New Worlds Season 2, here are 10 things to remember about everyone's favourite half Vulcan Spock. Video unavailable. Presume that might be a clip or a trailer, I don't know. For some reason, they don't let you watch them if you're not in America. I could put my VPN on, but I can't be bothered. Spock still mourns Michael Burnham. Spock faced a difficult journey on Star Trek Discovery Season 2. Oh, what crap. And he still seems to be recovering from it. Not only did he suffer a mental break of his own, but he also had to say goodbye to his adopted sister, Michael Burnham. We also found out, he had learning difficulties. This is Spock, one of the most amazing science officers in the history of the Federation. When Spock mind melds with Lieutenant Laan Noonien Singh, Christina Chong, who's going to be at Destination Star Trek at whenever it is this year in the UK. I saw it on Facebook. When Spock mind melds with Lieutenant Laan Noonien Singh, Christina Chong, in Strange New Worlds, Episode 4, Memento Mori, she glimpses a memory of Spock and Michael. Clearly, Michael and her sacrifice still weigh on Spock's mind, and his grief is made worse by the fact that he cannot tell anyone about her. He has to deal with his grief mostly alone, which is made more difficult by the fact that he continues to struggle with his human emotions. They should have just forgotten about that. They should have just dropped that, really. Anyway, number 9, Spock and T'Pring have a long-distance relationship. First introduced in the Star Trek The Original Series episode Amok Time, T'Pring, now played by Gia Sandhu, gets to be a fully formed character in Strange New Worlds. And T'Pring and Spock are engaged and genuinely in love in Strange New Worlds Season 1, which really wasn't really suggested in Amok Time. He said that they were betrothed as children, and I think they'd only met one other time in all those years. But in Strange New Worlds, we see them together all the time. Anyway. Though T'Pring and Spock cross paths several times over the course of Season 1, they are forced to spend much of their time apart. This clearly puts a strain on their relationship, although T'Pring does understand and accept Spock's human side and his decision to join Starfleet. I mean, she obviously changes her mind later, doesn't she? In the Mock Time, she says she doesn't want to be married to a legend. Spock has become a legend, and she doesn't want to be married to him. Despite their distance from one another, they continue their relationship and attempt to work things out. However, Spock's closeness with nurse Christine Chapel, Jess Bush, on the Enterprise is proving to be a complication. But it wasn't in the original series. You could tell that Nurse Chapel loved Spock, from a distance. But, we never reciprocated, was it, really? 8. Spock and T'Pring are close with Captain Pike. As captain of the Enterprise, Christopher Pike maintains close relationships with many of his crew. A little bit too close for some, but, I'm fine with it. He considers Spock to be one of his best friends, and he also seems close to T'Pring. In the pilot episode of Strange New Worlds, Pike calls Spock to ask him to join him back on the Enterprise, and T'Pring joins their conversation, referring to Pike intimately by his first name, Chris. This suggests she and Pike have not only met, but have also become friends. While it seems odd that Pike would be friends with T'Pring, while Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, would later be completely unaware of her, Strange New Worlds could offer up a logical explanation for this. You would hope so, wouldn't you? I'm not holding my breath. Spock is not speaking to his father, Sarek, and there he is, played by, I've forgotten his name. Him that were in Gotham. He played him in Discovery. Obviously, not Mark Leonard. That's who it's not. Or the one off the Kelvin verse, in that were in Chariots of Fire. Oh, rubbish. Anyway, Spock's relation, it'll say here probably, with James Frayne. Spock's relationship with his father, Ambassador Sarek, James Frayne, has always been somewhat strained. In his first appearance in Star Trek, the original series episode Journey to Babel, it is revealed that Sarek, originally played by Mark Leonard, also played a Romulan and a Klingon in Star Trek the Motion Picture. And he also played an alien in the season 2 of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century that could take his head off. What rubbish. Disapproved of Spock's decision to join Starfleet rather than attend the Vulcan Science Academy. They had been estranged from this point forward, as Sarek thought Spock was becoming too human, rather than embracing his Vulcan side. That was it with Sarek, though. He always thought Spock was too human, even at Spock's birth, as we saw in Star Trek V. Sarek, was handed Spock, and he said, it looks so human. So it's always difficulties towards his son, although he did grow to love him, as we saw later. And even his own logic was at question when it came to his son, as we saw in Star Trek 4, I think. Anyway, and embracing his Vulcan side. Despite their estrangement, Star Trek Discovery suggested that Sarek remained aware of Spock's whereabouts and continued to keep an eye on him. Oh, that makes sense. Number 6, Spock learned about La'an's history with the Gorn. In Strange New Worlds, Episode 4, Memento Mori, the Enterprise comes into contact with the Gorn, since Lieutenant La'an Noonien Singh was the lone survivor of a Gorn attack. Spock mind melds with her to learn how to defeat the Gorn. In doing so, Spock sees a moment from La'an's traumatic past and feels some of her grief over losing her brother. He also learns more about the Gorn and how they communicate, and helps La'an trick the Gorn into firing on their own ship. While Spock's knowledge of the Gorn seems to contradict the Star Trek the original series episode Arena, Strange New Worlds has succeeded in making the Gorn far scarier than they were in their first appearance. Yeah, well, it's been suggested that there's different kinds of Gorn. Like we said, they're always saying there's different kinds of Klingons, which is why we've got some with lumpy heads and some that look like they're doing Discovery and the ones that we saw in the original series. But that got explained in Enterprise, didn't it? So it's been suggested that there are different sorts of Gorn. There's the Gorn that we saw in Arena, and there's the Gorn that we see in Strange New Worlds, and they're still Gorn, but different sorts of Gorn. I suppose it's reasonable. I mean, we had different sorts of Xindi, didn't we, in Enterprise? So why not? Why not? Spock and T'Pring switched bodies. Yes, they did. In the ridiculous and fun Strange New Worlds Season 1 episode, A Mock Time, no, it wasn't A Mock Time, was it? It was Spock a Mock. Get it right, bloody screen rant. It was called Spock a Mock. Spock and T'Pring perform a ritual in an attempt to get to know one another better. The ritual ends up causing them to switch bodies. Technically, they're swap catchers, leading to several comedic sequences as Spock has to complete a mission as T'Pring. And T'Pring has to help Pike with negotiation as Spock. While much of the events in this episode are played for laughs, the episode also includes a lot of character development for Spock and T'Pring by forcing them to literally walk in each other's shoes for a while. The episode helps Spock and T'Pring achieve their original goal of wanting to learn more about one another. They also gain more admiration for each other as they realize how difficult it is for each of them to perform the other's duties. But even then, that makes it harder to appreciate what's coming in A Mock Time in the original series when she doesn't want anything to do with Spock anymore. But yet she's so close to him now, she's even swapped bodies with him. But then in A Mock Time, she says she doesn't want to marry him. She wants to marry Ston. And, because Spock's become a legend and she doesn't want to be married to a legend for whatever reason. I don't know. But it was suggested that she was kind of she thought it was his human half that she was fighting against. She was a bit of a racist, basically. But she ended up, accepting it, and they got closer together. But as I said, this all like contradicts what's going to happen in a few years in a mock time. But anyway, Spock and Nurse Chapel kissed. Yes, I don't blame him. Gorgeous. But anyway, though Spock is engaged to T'Pring and clearly cares for her, she's not the only woman he has romantic tension with. In Star Trek the original series, Nurse Chapel, Majel Barrett, had feelings for Spock, but they appear to be unrequited, as I've said. Strange New Worlds, however, brings Spock and Chapel closer together. In Strange New Worlds Episode 7, The Serene Squall, the pair share a kiss as part of a ruse to regain control of the Enterprise. While Spock and Chapel later confirm to each other that they are just friends, they both clearly have feelings for one another. You get that, there's that tension between them. Chemistry, I should say, not tension. And considering the trailer for Strange New World Season 2 shows them kissing again, there's evidently more between them than Spock is willing to admit. Yeah. I've got a feeling there's going to be an episode that's going to be a little bit like The Naked Now and The Naked Time. They lose all their inhibitions. I've got a feeling that's going to happen. But I could be wrong. Right, Spock knows Cyborg is married to Captain Angel. This completely, I've just recently watched season 1, and this episode, The Serene Squall, it completely went over my head. I'm totally missed this. But I'll take their word for it. The 7th episode of Strange New World Season 1, The Serene Squall, which is the name of a pirate ship, finds the Enterprise at the mercy of a pirate captain named Angel, Jesse James Keitel. Angel takes about it, a non-binary person. Not that matters. They played it well. I hate they, them pronouns. I do, sorry. Angel takes control of the Enterprise in order to use Spock as a bargaining chip to secure the release of their partner, Zephirius. Zephirius was later revealed to be Spock's half-brother, Cyborg. I totally missed that bit. I remember Cyborg popping up at the end, but I didn't realise it was him. It was this Zephirius that were connected with Angel. Anyway. Cyborg is being held at a rehabilitation facility under the watch of T'Pring. While Angel, another connection that you didn't really need to have. Why does it have to be T'Pring that's in charge of Cyborg? Don't know. Or maybe Cyborg is the one that turns her against Spock. We will see. While Angel does not directly reveal the true identity of their partner, Spock figures out that it must be Cyborg, setting up his return decades later, played by Lawrence Luckinbill in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, when he goes to Nimbus 3 and lures the Enterprise and takes over it somehow. But anyway, though the episode only shows a glimpse of Cyborg, it seems that he will formally debut in Strange New Worlds. And it kind of looked like basically Ethan Peck from behind. It might not have been, but I got that impression it was Ethan Peck. But anyway. Number 2, Spock lost control of his emotions. In Strange New Worlds, he does it all the time, though. In Strange New Worlds, Episode 9, All Those Who Wander, the Enterprise crew must face off against several Gorn hatchlings. In order to draw them out and fight them, Spock channels his rage at the Gorn for killing his crewmates. With this outburst of emotion, he's able to kill one of the Gorn, but the Vulcan has difficulty reining his emotions back in. Oh, crikey. Where were we? Later in the episode, one of the most heartbreaking moments of the season, Chief Engineer Hemmer, Bruce Horak, becomes infected with Gorn eggs and chooses to sacrifice himself to save his crew. I don't think he's dead. I think he's still there, frozen on that planet. I know he fell a long way, but he could have landed in a snowdrift. I don't know. But I think he'll be back. I think it's going to be one of the surprises of season 2. I hope I'm right. Hashtag justice for Hemmer. Bring him back. During Hemmer's funeral, Spock steps out and lets out his anger and grief by punching the wall. Oh, yes, he did. Yes, I remembered that. But I don't think we saw a body, did we? Or did we? I'm wondering now. I'm going to have to watch it again. And Nurse Chapel follows closely behind to comfort him. And after his earlier outburst, Spock continues to struggle to control his often volatile emotions. See, I'm wondering now, did we see the body? I remember the funeral, and I remember seeing a photo and people talking and stuff like a service, but I don't remember seeing an actual body. Did they retrieve his body or not? See, I'm wondering now. Anyway. Number one, Spock is acting first officer after number one's arrest. Yes, in the last scene of Strange New World season 1 finale, A Quality of Mercy, which I rewatched recently and didn't hate as much as I did first time. I still didn't like it very much, but I didn't hate it as much. Maybe I'm mellowing. Captain Pike's first officer, Commander Una Chin Riley, Rebecca Romaine, is taken into Starfleet custody. Remember, she's had a promotion as well. She used to be a lieutenant in The Cage. She was a lieutenant, wasn't she? She was still first officer, but you were a lieutenant back then. Anyway, he's taken into Starfleet custody because of her Illyrian heritage. And remember, La'ar Noonien Singh also buggered off, didn't she? I think the previous episode. Yeah, because they found a little girl, didn't they? So basically aliens. Well, the second Quality of Mercy, the second to last episode. Were basically aliens, and they found a little girl like Newt. And so she went off with her, didn't she, to find her family. But I presume she'll be back straight away in season 2. Anyway, taken into Starfleet custody because of her Illyrian heritage, because they're genetically engineered like species. I think she looks human, doesn't she? I don't know what this. I like a colony of humans, or just humanoid. I don't know. I always thought she was human. But she's genetically engineered. She can absorb energy. She can even absorb the energy of a warp core. But anyway, this leaves the Enterprise, at least temporarily, without a first officer, and Spock would be the next in line. While fans of the original series are used to seeing Spock in this position, it'll be interesting to see how the younger version of Spock handles the job. The trailer for Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 shows Una taking her place again as number one at some point, but Spock will at least get to take a stab at the position. Yeah, she'll be back. I bet the first episode is all about Una's trial and stuff, and she'll be, obviously it's all going to be fine, isn't it? Because we see her back in the Enterprise as a commander, so she don't get demoted or sent to prison or anything. So everything's going to be fine, isn't it? So she'll be back by the end of episode 1, I bet. So there you go. 10 things about Spock that you've got to remember before we start season 2 of Strange New Worlds, which I'm looking forward to, apart from the Lower Decks crossover. Of course I don't like that. Right. Here we go. Another list for your edification. The most popular, this is from Cinema Blend, the most popular movie every year since 1970. I hope this isn't super long. It's got to be, hasn't it? 97 is 50 years, isn't it? Over. Right, every year, has a movie box office champion. So I won't read it all because it'll be here too long. So we'll just look at the things. 1970 Love Story. Not really made for me. I think I've seen it once, actually, a long time ago. I can't remember. $106 million it made in 1970, which is, quite a lot, man. Ryan O'Neill, Ali McGraw. Oscar nominated. Obviously, it didn't win. 1971, Billy Jack. Never heard of it. Never bloody heard of that. There you go. Yeah, never heard of it. But that made $98 million. I have to look into that one. Half Navajo, former Green Beret. Oh, there we go. Yeah, never heard of that. I'll have to look that up. 1972, The Godfather, obviously. Marlon Brando. There we go. Made 133.7 million. No, 1973, The Exorcist. 193 million at the box office. 1974, Blazing Saddles. There we go. I didn't think... I'd have thought there'd been other films that made more money at the box office than Blazing Saddles, but obviously not. 119.5 million. 1975, Jaws, but that's actually a still from, I think, Jaws 2, I think, is it? Or maybe not. I don't know. I'm just going by the helicopter. They did have a helicopter in the first one, I think, didn't they? Did they? I can't actually remember now. I can't actually remember. Anyway, that made $260 million in 1975 with the late great Roy Scheider, obviously Spielberg's first blockbuster, wasn't it? Some say it was the first blockbuster, but it wasn't. King Kong was the first blockbuster in 1933. So 1976, Rocky, the Oscar-winning film, which made 117 million and made Sylvester Stallone a star. 1977, obviously, Star Wars. 195.7 million. This will be domestic. Oh, sorry, pardon me. But so far it's 460.9 million. But at the time, 195 million. In 79, 78 were Grease. One of my favourite films of all time. I don't know why. I love Grease. Don't know why. I just do. Sometimes you just like stuff. But that made 153 million in 1978. John Travolta and the late, great Olivia Newton-John. 1979. Well, I thought Superman went out in 1978. That's weird. It wasn't nice. It was Superman the movie. Went out in 1978, wasn't it? Not 1979. Oh, that's weird. Unless it, overlapped. It must have overlapped then. But it was released in 1978. Anyway, 93.3 million. So, the late great Christopher Reeve, Richard, and the late Richard Donner. Anyway, 1980, Star Wars Episode 5. I bet there's films from 1979. I'm thinking, hang on, why are you taking my spotlight? Films like The Black Hole, for instance, and other stuff. Force 10 from Navarone. Anyway, 1980, Star Wars Episode 5. The Empire Strikes Back. What did that bring in? 181.4 million. But there we go. What's that one? Not only did The Empire Strikes Back outweigh the competition by roughly $80 million, it was also one of only two films to surpass $100 million that year, the other being the Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder-led Stir Crazy. 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark made 168.4 million, and that's unsurprising. 1982, E.T., a great year for film. 1982, Star Trek 2, The Thing, E.T., amongst others. Made 321.8 million, became the highest grossing movie of all time, of course. I think it held that crown for a really long time. 1983, Return of the Jedi, 249.3 million. 1984, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, took $220 million at the box office. 85, Back to the Future with 193 million. Should never remake that film. There's been rumours, haven't there, that they're thinking about it, but they shouldn't do. I'm sure there's some sort of in the, some legal documents or something that as while Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis are still alive, they'll never remake Back to the Future. Anyway, 1986, Top Gun, 171.8 million. Cool film, and the sequel, Top Gun Maverick, is cool as well. 1987, Beverly Hills Cop 2, which is a pretty good film, I must admit. Tony Scott, the late great Tony Scott. A lot of late greats in this list, isn't there? 153.7. 1988, Rain Man, which I've never seen. I've seen clips of it, obviously, but I've never seen it all the way through. Rain Man, but that were one for Best Picture. Dustin Hoffman got an Oscar, didn't he, for it? But Tom Cruise, I think, were nominated, wasn't he? I think for Best Supporting Actor. I think. Anyway, 151.7 million. 1989, Batman, 251. Yeah, because it were everywhere that year. Were Batman. Not a great film, to be honest. It isn't. Not a great film. I think Batman Returns is much better. 1990, Ghost, 217.6. Another Oscar winner, which Whoopi Goldberg won. And it's, I've not seen it for a long time, but I remember liking it when I saw it. Tears flowed. I'm not ashamed to admit it. 1991, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. They've always missed the E out, don't they? You Americans, 201.9 million. 1992, Batman Returns, which I've said. Despite inciting controversy for its wicked tone, I think it's mild, and falling short of its predecessor's success. I think it's my favourite Batman film is Batman Returns. Anyway, made 162.8 million. I love Batman Returns. It's a Christmas film as well. 1993, Jurassic Park, classic, one of the greatest films of all time. It's the effects still hold up today. They must have made real dinosaurs. They must have done. How do the effects? You see other films with CG effects, back then, and you can tell. You think, bloody hell, they look a bit ropey. But for some reason, the effects in the CG in Jurassic Park still hold up. Well, for me, they do anyway. I suppose there's some people saying, look, it looks like it's floating there. Look, whatever. Anyway, 338.7 million. 1994, The Lion King. Another film I'm not a big fan of. The Lion King. I don't know what people saw in it. But all right, it's Disney. When Disney were good, fine. But I want the biggest fan of The Lion King, to be honest. 1995, Batman Forever. A Batman film that I think is unfairly maligned. And I think Val Kilmer did a good job as Bruce Wayne / Batman. I like Batman Forever. Not so keen on Robin, but whatever. Can't have everything. But it made 184 million from the late great Joel Schumacher. Anyway, 1996 Independence Day. Love that film, and I like the sequel. I like Independence Day Resurgence. I'll die on that hill. I think it's a fine, not as good as the original, obviously. But that made 306.2. I remember seeing it at the pictures. 1997 Men in Black, a film I like, but again, I think it's overrated. I do, but it's okay. Made 157 million. Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. 1998 Titanic. Obviously, that became the biggest film of all time. It might still be. I don't know. It's a toss-up, isn't it? There's Avatar, that, and is it Endgame? That keep jockeying for position, don't they? But at the time, 488.1 million. Obviously, it's made lots more than that since. 1999, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I think George were hoping he'd get the most successful film of all time with this, but Titanic beat him to it, and it didn't knock it off, did it? But it got 430 million. I like The Phantom Menace, particularly my edited version, where I've taken out basically all the Gungans, pretty much, for the most part. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That was the highest grossing film of 2000. Unbelievable. I didn't like it. I don't think. I think I've seen it once. Just watch the cartoon, with Boris Karloff doing the narration. Just watch that. 253 million. It's a Ron Howard film. I didn't realise that. Not good. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Philosopher's Stone. Get it right. 300 million that made. I love the Harry Potter films. I think they're cool. 2002 Spider-Man, another cool film, 403 million. I even like Spider-Man 3. I don't know why people moan about that one. Finding Nemo of 2003, 339 million. Yeah, it's all right. Shrek 2, what happened to Shrek 1? That made 441 million. They're all right. Another one that I'm not a massive fan of the Shrek films, to be honest. They're all right. I don't hate them, but I don't go out of my way to watch them. But when I do watch them, I think, they're all right. Episode 3, 2005, Revenge of the Sith, 380 million. It's okay. There's been no Attack of the Clones. Remember that? That was 2002, wasn't it? Obviously, Spider-Man beat that to the top. I like Attack of the Clones. Don't know why people don't like it. I think it's fine. But Revenge of the Sith is okay as well. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. I love that film. People didn't like it, and don't know why. I had a massive smile on my face when I went to see that in the pictures. I thought it was great fun. Even though Jack Sparrow does have thumb rings, Bloody hate thumb rings. Those earrings that put big holes in your ears and thumb rings, they're the two things that I hate more than anything in the world. Do me head in. But that made 423.3 million. It was one of the, like an early $1 billion film, wasn't it, I think? Or Dead Man's Chest. But anyway. Spider-Man 3, yay, 2007, 336 million. That's it, with the biggest of the Spider-Man films. Most successful. But people didn't like it. But I did. I thought it was cool. I love Spider-Man 3. The Dark Knight. This is Christopher Nolan's trilogy. Personally, I think we're overrated. Couldn't tell what Bane was saying in the third one. Can't tell what Christian Bale's saying. It gets worse as the films go on. With his voice. Stupid. Didn't like him. Not a fan of the... I'm not a Christopher Nolan fan, to be honest. Although I do like some of his films. But The Dark Knight, 531 million. I think The Dark Knight's the best of them. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. This is why Alex Kurtzman's still working in Hollywood. It's the Transformers films. It's the money that these Transformers films make worldwide is what's keeping Alex Kurtzman in work. Because he just brings them out on his resume. Why should we employ Alex Kurtzman? Transformers. Look at all them numbers. That's why. And they fall for it. Where are we? 402 million, Revenge of the Fallen. Which one was that one? I don't know. I hate them all. They're bloody awful. I admire the work that's gone into the CG, you know, the 10,000 moving parts or whatever on them. But they're bloody awful films. 2010, Toy Story 3, 408 million. That made. And it's a good film, and I bawled my eyes out at the end because there we go, tearjerker. Hang on, where are we? Just said hang on. Despite making 408 million in 2010, the ludicrously successful Avatar. Right. So Toy Story 3 made 415. So even though Avatar is one of the biggest films of all time, it wasn't the biggest hit of that year, ironically. Anyway, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, 2011. 381 million. Yeah, well, we're all right. I think as they went on, the Harry Potter films, I kind of, I still like them and love watching them, but less so as the series went on and they got older. But it was fine. It was fine. Number 3 is still my favourite. Prisoner of Azkaban. My favourite. 2012, The Avengers. Great film. 623.4 million. At the time, the greatest superhero film ever made, and it's still up there. It's still second best, I think, after Infinity War, in my opinion. Number 2013, Iron Man 3, 408 million. Many fans expressed their disappointment over it, but it still made a tremendous 408 million. I wasn't a huge fan of Iron Man 3. I didn't storm out of the cinema. I don't think I saw it in cinema, to be honest. I think I waited for it to go out on Blu-ray. But I watched it, and I wasn't like, oh, this is garbage, turn it off. But I was like, whatever. I didn't like all the Iron Man suits flying about by themselves. I thought, well, if you've got that, what's the point in having Iron Man? What's the point in Tony Stark if his suits can do what they want, by themselves? Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy 2014. That's surprising. I didn't know Guardians of the Galaxy was that successful, but it was. It was 2014's highest grossing movie. But it don't tell us how much it made. But it's deserved because it's an amazing film. To be honest, it could be my maybe 4th favourite of the Marvel films, the MCU. It's got, The Avengers, Infinity War. This is not in any particular order. Captain America, the first Avenger. I think that's still my number 1. I love that film. And then Guardians of the Galaxy. 2015, Star Wars The Force Awakens. That year, it made 742.2 million. Yeah, that's it. And it was well deserved. I really like The Force Awakens. Less so as the years have gone on. because I've seen what like J.J. Abrams and his bad robot, hatefulness has done to the franchise. Kathleen Kennedy's got a lot to do with it as well, removing a lot of the original, a lot of George Lucas's stuff, pushing them to the side, covering them up with tarps, changing them so you can get new merchandise out, so that the old merchandise won't sell anymore. It's got to be the new stuff. But as a film, I really enjoyed it. Not perfect in any stretch of the imagination, but it was fine. Finding Dory. I've never seen it. Never seen that one. But that made 486 million in 2016. The Last Jedi. For God's sake. That only made a lot of money because of Force Awakens and people wanted to see what happened next. They completely made a mess of it, didn't they? 517 million. Black Panther. 700 million, apparently, for a pretty mediocre film, to be honest. They didn't have copyright to old merchandise, from what I remember. I'm sure they did. Because Disney bought it all, didn't they? Lock, stock, and barrel. But they wanted new stuff, didn't they? They wanted their new stuff to be selling things. That's a thing that J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot do. They take over a franchise and try and push all the old stuff to one side. He did it with Star Trek because he wanted all the toy companies to stop selling original series and Next Generation Star Trek stuff. He did, anyway. Right, anyway, where were we? Black Panther, like I say, that made got a Best Picture Oscar nomination. I don't know why, because it was a very mediocre film. That it wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't that good, to be honest. I don't know why it got all the accolades. But anyway, 2019 Avengers Endgame. See, where were I forgot what they call it. Infinity War. Was that 2017? It could have been, couldn't it? See, Last Jedi overshadowed Infinity War, which were a much better film. And Infinity War a much better film than Endgame. I did enjoy Endgame. Most fans agree the greatest MCU movie ever is the epic finale to the Infinity Saga Avengers Endgame. No, Infinity War were much better. Anyway, but it made 858 million in 2019. 2020, Bad Boys for Life. That's a surprise. Which I've not seen it. 204 million. I've seen all the Bad Boys films apart from that one. Yeah, there you go. 2021 Spider-Man No Way Home, 572 million in audiences coming back to the theatre after COVID and all that. But yeah, it's a cool film. It's a really cool film. 2022 Top Gun Maverick saved Hollywood. Yes, the person often credited with saving Hollywood. Spielberg told him they saved our asses or whatever, didn't he? Saved Hollywood's ass or something like that, didn't he? 718 million. And it's a cool film, even though it is just Star Wars. It's just a trench run. But it's still cool. So there you go. That's all the top films. I wonder what 2023's top film will be. Guardians 3. What else have we had? I'm trying to think what else we've had this year. But my favourite film of this year so far has been Megan. But there we go. But there we go. So that's that little interesting thing. I just thought I'd share that. Last, 50 odd years. That went by quick, didn't it? But anyway. Right. And finally, I think. I think we're on the and finally. Yes, we are. My big cat news. Got to have my big cat news. For reasons. I just find it interesting. Right, there we go. We have big cats in the West Country and have to learn to live with them. We have big cats in the West Country and we have to learn to live with them. That's how we said it. I've never really paid any attention to big cats in Britain, as I thought people were confused or just lying, says somebody. And there's a photo. This creature was spotted in the Quantock Hills. There we go. It does actually look like a big cat, doesn't it? Looks like a big Black Panther or something. Or whatever. Farmers, dog walkers, and train conductors have all retold their accounts of the moment they claim to have spotted a big cat roaming the West Country of the UK, obviously. Devon, Cornwall, Somerset, those counties. Some have seen the strange creature on more than one occasion. Others have described the blood-curdling moment they were stalked by what they believe was a panther. Recent DNA from a black hair sample snagged on a fence at a Gloucestershire farm was found to have 99% chance it was a black leopard. Now, Rick Minter, producer of the Big Cat Conservations podcast, considers how black leopards live undercover here in the West Country. This is from Bristol Live, by the way, which is in the West Country. A freckled panther, reported John in North Devon in summer 2020. He wasn't expecting to see a giant black cat roaming through his small holding. He was even more confused at seeing freckles on its coat. In fact, John had possibly witnessed a rare colour morph, what's called a cobweb panther. He questioned his sanity, but was greatly relieved when I sent him a photo from the web of just such an animal photographed in a zoo. Oh, this will be from... when he says I, this will be Rick Minter. Rick Minter's written this article. Where were we? The freckles or cobweb effect are from depigmentation. Other mammals, including horses and sometimes humans, can exhibit this. It's what's called vitiligo, or is it vitiligo? Vitiligo, I don't know how to pronounce it. In a large cat, it could indicate inbreeding. Amongst the steady reports of big cats reported in Britain over several decades, John's description stands out. Signs of inbreeding are rare. If at any one time there were 50-odd panthers breeding on from past releases, they would likely be inbred. Features like stub tails, white blaze marks, and cobweb effects would be reported, yet they are not. But get to around 300 individuals and the genetic health is more stabilised. Across the accounts, people describe fit, healthy, and confident big cats. They appear truly wild, not stressed or struggling. I didn't want to report it. It seemed so comfortable in its environment, said a train conductor earlier this year. From the back of the train, he watched one of the tan-coloured large cats, which resemble mountain lions, also called cougars and pumas, or pumas. Similar in size and form to black panthers and equally stealthy, these sandy brown predators account for 20% of reports year on year. My wife only believed me when she heard some of the podcasts, he said. Many landowners and farmers seem tolerant too, perhaps because the cats seem to prefer deer to sheep as their main large prey. We have big cats and we have to learn to live with them, said the Gloucestershire farmer at one of my talks. But it's good they're going for deer, I suppose, because there's actually a lot of deer in the UK, more than you'd think. I'm sure I saw a thing saying there's like over 4 million deer in maybe just in England. I'm not sure. Maybe the UK as a whole, over 4 million of them. And they're on about culling them because there's that many. But anyway, where am I? We have big cats. We have to learn to live with them, said a Gloucestershire farmer at one of my talks. On the next door farm, 2 people had separately reported the tan-coloured puma. I'll say puma. I know a lot of people say puma, don't they? But puma. Drinking from a water trough. I asked the farm family if I could tether a camera trap there. The chance to film at strategic points on a large cat's route should not be missed. Reluctantly, permission was declined. Miserable buggers. And put a camera up. The farm buildings were only a field away and hosted a sensitive business with regular visitors. Like so many properties, these people felt that gossip on big cats was best avoided. I receive scores of reports every year, and over 20 Facebook groups, national and local, look into the topic. In many cases, the encounter is too close for any mistaken identity, and reaching for a phone camera is hardly a priority. People's dogs and horses also react, mostly in an alert mode, never seen by their owners. It could be argued as well that by the time you've got your camera out and got it into bloody photo mode or whatever, it's gone, hasn't it? It's a fleeting sighting, usually. Now, over 100 different cases can be heard on Big Cat Conversations. It is black panthers which make up the majority of accounts. Their native population strongholds are far away in Java and in the Malay Peninsula. There, people call them panthers, but biologically they are leopards. Black pigment hides the rosettes. I think you can see them though, can't you? I'm sure you can see them. Like a lot of black panthers in certain lights. You can see the spots on them. A black mating pair of leopards will produce all black offspring. In December 2021 in Staffordshire, bloody hell, this going far, we're nearly done. In September 2021 in Staffordshire, a young guy was watching deer at sunrise from his car in a lay-by. Suddenly they got edgy and skittish and then bolted off. Out from the surrounding scrub emerged a panther or leopard. Knowing its cover was blown, it drifted back into hiding before the shocked witness could grab his phone camera. What I just said. Commenting on the scene, he said the deer were quite dark, but the cat was jet black with a long tail. It wasn't fat, but streamlined, if that makes sense, and shoulder blades were glistening. It was surreal. The images stayed with me. Hope they don't get attention from trophy hunters. Like many observers, he had been a skeptic. I've never really paid any attention to big cats in Britain, as I thought people were confused or just lying. In Somerset, 3 months later, a dog walker watched a similar scene, describing events on episode 71 of the podcast. She entered the field again at first light. Nearby was a mystery dark shape. Then she noticed a panther maneuver into the next pasture. It positioned itself before rushing at a deer. She watched it close in, just gained the ground as it surged, and heard a brief squeal as predator dispatched its prey. I could tell such a large, powerful, and heavy animal moving like that couldn't be a dog, she remarked. In her profession, she sees dogs every day. These are safari scenes in Middle England, amongst our farming operations, where we enjoy tranquil views and next to our dog walks. The big cats effortlessly and naturally work around us. Many of us doubt their existence because we cannot comprehend their stealth. As has been widely reported, recent DNA from a black hair sample snagged on a fence at a Gloucestershire farm confirms the black leopard theory. There must have been follicles, because you can't get DNA from hair, can you? Well, I don't think you can. So there must be some skin with on the follicles. Anyway. So have sporadic releases of trophy pets at different times in the past given us a head start on rewilding for predators as we debate how to naturally cull deer, there you go, that I was saying, by bringing back the Eurasian lynx to our shores. Crikey, have we accidentally created Panther Britannica and Cougar Celtica? Another guest on Big Cat Conversations described his startled state as he and his dog met a panther on a path one evening. It followed them through the shadows for some heart-stopping moments. Like so many witnesses, he felt his senses charged and awoken. The fight or flight thing. He thought they might have converged while the cat eyed up rabbits. A precision engineer by trade, he remarked, a stealthy black leopard active in a British wood is the ultimate precision engineering. There we go. Find more on TikTok. There's links on Rick's podcast. There we go. There we go. The big cats are in England. And we've got to learn to live with them. It makes it a bit more scary, though, doesn't it, going out into the countryside? But, they'd just run off, wouldn't they? People aren't going to be eaten. This is just fiction, like Jaws was. Anyway, so we'll leave that there. Right, that's it. I've done for today. Right, so we will leave it there. Another nearly 2 hours again. It's that long. There's long lists, isn't it? Anyway, so we'll leave it there. So thanks, Taika, for joining in. Thanks everybody else for watching. Let's just check actually, make sure there's no other chats on the other things. No, nothing on Rumble, and nothing on Twitch either. Nobody gives us stuff. Oh dear. Right, so no, there's no other messages for me. Right, well, we'll leave it there. Right, so thanks for watching. Thanks for the shit. You are quite welcome. Gives me something to do. When I could be doing something else. I'm supposed to actually be out in the back garden. I'm supposed to be getting the weeds out from the the paving flags patio, whatever you want to call it. Supposed to be getting all the grass and weeds out with it, but I can't be bothered. It's too warm. Right, so we'll leave it there. So Tomorrow night, it is Sunday today, isn't it? Yes, tomorrow night is my Monday moan, which, yes, it is. It is too sunny and hot. I've got the fan on in the living room. I've got a ceiling fan. It's made its money back as that thing. Tomorrow night is Monday, which means it's Monday morning night. And tomorrow night it's Conan the Barbarian, a film I've never really got into. So I've got to try and watch that tomorrow or today or whenever I get round to it. Not looking forward to that, but anyway, you never know. I might enjoy it, but I've tried before and I've never liked it. So anyway, we'll leave it there. So thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, hang on, where are we? Oh, there we go. No, wrong one. Where are we? There we go. Until next time, I'll say they. Wrong way there. I'll say they. God, I'm an idiot.